What's up? Welcome to another Vintage Cube. Pretty stoked to play today. This is one of the last days that Cube is online. I need to at least run one or two of these. So, with this pack, I could maybe take a Signet. Let's see, I'm going to make these cards a little bit bigger. Okay. Maybe I can't make them bigger. Yeah, I guess that's good for now. So I've liked Nissa a lot too in the mono green deck. So I think I'll just take Nissa. The Signet is not like in the greatest colors and pretty low power pack, I would say. So here's some more cards that I generally like to play, like Dak or Opposition can be really good in the right deck. There's 2 fetch lands. There's Kiki Jiki and Pestermite in this pack for the combo, which has been not as good in Vintage Cube as in Legacy Cube. So if I want to stick with Nissa, I should probably take Opposition and see if I can make the blue-green deck work out. Or if I want to just take the best card, I think I should take Dak Faden. And I guess it's a tough choice because Opposition is a really strong card that can just completely lock decks out no matter what they're trying to do. It's also kind of hard to play just because of the mana requirements. So yeah, for that reason, I just don't love taking Opposition early because it's hard to get a good blue-green deck that can cast all the green ramp spells and then also Opposition. Also just don't love the archetype of green. Playing base blue-red lets you go a lot of different directions. You could splash black or white, and it's just a really good color combo. So here's another powerful double blue card, Upheaval. The safe pick would be Preordain or Riftwing Cloudscape. Which one am I more likely to want to play in a Dak Faden deck? I think I'll just take a blue spell that will go in my deck every time. So nothing great in blue or red in this pack, or green for that matter. I can take Dismember because it can go in any deck. I don't really like to take cards like Lightning Strike highly because it's so replaceable. I like Leovold a lot. That would make my mana a little bit awkward if I want to put it in the same deck as Dak Faden. And Mere Battlesphere is just like average in most decks. So I think I'm going to end up taking Dismember just because I can put it in any deck. So I think the Artifact deck looks like it's open. I got past Mere Battlesphere, Smokestack in the last pack. There's Wormcoil, Forge Master, and Stonecoil Serpent are all in this deck. So that's a consideration. I would maybe be looking towards that if I had the Upheaval. And here's the Duretti as well, which goes in the Artifact deck. So I could speculate on Duretti, and then I would have 2 Planeswalkers that put cards in my graveyards as well, which is another synergy. So kind of speculative. Stonecoil is also just a really good card that fits in any spot in the curve and can go in any deck, which I think it's good to take cards like that early, because I've mentioned that a few times already, early in the first pack. So Phyrexian Metamorph could be good in the Artifact deck. I think I might like backdoor into that with this Duretti, and as I mentioned, I've been seeing a lot of artifacts. Metamorph's also just solid in lots of decks, so I don't love... I'm looking to mostly play like blue-red, so the Verdant Catacombs isn't going to help me a lot. So that's a pretty late Sneak Attack. Sneak Attack goes okay with my 2 Planeswalkers that can like find me the Emrakul in my deck. I'm willing to speculate on that. Yeah, so the Artifact deck definitely open. I'm getting a 8th pick Metalworker. Here's the other Duretti, Goblin Welder. So I think a lot of the blue-red archetypes seem to be open, so I'm glad that I didn't move towards this Nissa strategy from the first pick. So the artifact deck I think is open, but I don't exactly have any artifacts except Metamorph to go with Metalworker right now. I really like Duretti Ingenious Iconoclast as a card, so I'm just going to take that. If I think I'm going to get there on a bunch of artifact mana, I could take this Wildfire. I don't really want to put Faithless Looting in my deck. I already have Dak Faden and Duretti that do that effect. Tezzeret, I could see this working out. So the Pestermite tabled, but someone took the Kiki Jiki. I like Nahiri a lot. This is a late Nahiri. I think I'll just take that, and maybe I can play it. Maybe I can play the black-red Duretti. Maybe I can play both. Like, we'll just see how it goes. I can take Ren in 6 and just play all the red Planeswalkers. That would be pretty funny. I'm not sure if I can fit that into this deck. I like Shallow Grave. I'm not sure if I'm actually gonna take it just because it's good with my Dak Faden and Duretti. And I can see myself backdooring into a Shallow Grave deck. Like, yeah, I passed an Incinerate, I think, and here's a Lightning Strike I can just take. I don't want to take Enlightened Tutor even if I end up in a Sneak Attack deck. Enlightened Tutor is just too narrow. This is an interesting draft. I feel like a lot of cards are going late. I'll take the Stone Coil. I haven't loved Kuldotha Forge Master. So green, definitely not open. I'm glad I didn't go that direction. I don't have any dual lands, and I have a collection of mostly red cards, somewhat of a artifact sub-theme, and I have the Sneak Attack, which we could maybe use. I did not end up tabling the Upheaval, so I'm not going to get a huge payoff for putting a bunch of artifact mana in my deck. So here's Fallen Shinobi, which is a great blue-black creature. I have Cloudskate and Stone Coil to turn it on. Izzet Signet is just going to be great in my blue-red deck. Factor Fiction is just a great blue card. It's looking like I might not have a lot of creatures just because of all these Planeswalkers I have, so I'll take the Signet. So here's a Basalt Monolith. Not sure if I'm going to get a big payoff for having a ton of mana, like I said. Mana Leak and Miscalculation are both great blue cards. I know I want to play blue for this Dak Faden at least. These cards aren't exactly the ones that go in, like my deck's really playing to the board right now. I don't have a ton of instants to synergize with the Mana Leak, but it's still just a great card, and I don't love Looter Ilkor. So yeah, I think I'll just take the solid blue card. So here, now I'm getting Tinker, and this is 4th pick, I think. I should end up with some more artifacts if I want to get them. I have Duretti, which makes artifacts, and I have Stone Coil and Izzet Signet. So I think it's probably one of the most broken things I could try to do with this deck is go down the Tinker route. I could maybe even play the Sneak Attack if I end up getting Blightsteel Colossus, and then I would have 2 ways to cheat that into play. Tundra also would be good to splash this Nahiri, so we'll see if we can maybe pick that up on the wheel. This is not exactly a Time Twister deck. Maybe I could speculate on it, and if I pick up Narset, I could combo with it. I don't love Search for Azcanta unless I'm in Reanimator. It's just really slow and doesn't do a lot. It just scries each turn until the late game, and you don't get to the late game a lot of the time. So Thief of Sanity, though, is just a pretty strong card, and it's looking like I think my black splash is a little bit better than my white splash. So I'll just take Thief of Sanity. So here's 2 artifacts that I want. Mindslaver, which goes with both of my Durettis to just completely lock the opponent out. It also goes with my Tinker, although it's a little bit slow. And then, of course, Inkwell Leviathan, which is really good against the control decks because they basically just have to Wrath of God it or race it, and like they're never going to race it. So it's kind of like Sweeper or they're just dead. So Leviathan is like low variance, solid card. Mindslaver is like a little more fun and a little bit better with my Durettis. So yeah, I'm just going to take Mindslaver. So I am looking to get some Delve cards because I have Dak Faden and Duretti to fill up my graveyard. Tassiger is not really the one I'm looking for. Flametongue Kavu is just a solid card that's really good against creature strategies. So I think I'm just going to take that. Relic of Progenitus is a cheap artifact that I can tinker away. Sphinx of the Steelwind is like a mediocre tinker target, but I don't really want it. It doesn't work with sneak attack, and I guess I should also be looking at cards I can reanimate with Duretti. So it would be nice. I would rather have something that I could cast too, like that Wormcoil engine. To have that or the Battle Sphere would be really nice, actually. I guess I'll just take the Sphinx because the rest of the cards are not great. So this is a blue Signet, and it helps me splash white. That can even help me cast the Sphinx, which is probably not really going to happen. But it's either Signet or Plateau here. I don't need Siege Gang Commander, so that's a pretty easy Signet. I don't think my deck is really set up to use Skull Clamp right now. It's good with Duretti. You can just make these 1/1 constructs and start clamping them. And I can tinker away the Skull Clamp, of course. There's also just a decent Planeswalker in a Johnny, but that doesn't seem great. I'll take the Skull Clamp. Maybe I get like a Trinket Mage and maybe some other cards that go with it in the next pack. Seachrome Coast will help me get this Nahiri into my deck, or I take Ancient Grudge. Yeah, I think I'm happy to take the Seachrome Coast and the Tundra, and now my white splash is pretty locked up. Sweltering Suns would be an okay sideboard card, but I don't think I need it. I don't really like Seasoned Pyromancer. Okay, so we tabled Inkwell Leviathan, and I think I should just take it. And we got a last pick Burning of Xenia, which, it's not looking great. We just have the 2 Signets while we open Ancestral, so that's pretty nice. And there's a white-black Signet, Teferi, Polluted Delta. Those would all be great for us. Probably won't wheel any, but there's a decent chance. Balance is looking decent in this deck just because we have a bunch of cards that don't count towards balance. Like the classic ones are artifact mana, but like we also just have Skull Clamp, Planeswalkers, which also don't count. And I mean, we have Sneak Attack, Mindslaver. Like, this is a pretty decent balance deck. There's also just Solemn, which will fix our mana because our mana is pretty awkward, and we can use it with Tinker, obviously. So there's some good cards in this pack. Fiery Confluence and Brazen Borrower are just solid cards for any deck. They don't really synergize with what we're doing, but so yeah, I think I'll just take Balance. I think it has the highest upside, and I do have pretty good white fixing right now. So Fractured Identity, I think everyone knows by now, is just an insane card that just wins the game on a lot of board states. If you take their Planeswalker, or you take their 5 or 6 drop creature that has a come into play effect, like, this card is just gets you out of any bind and then puts you way ahead. Like, I don't really think I can pass it. Baleful Strix is nice. Maybe I don't need all this top end, but I think Fractured Identity is just too good. Let's clean this deck up a little bit. I'm not going to play a lot of those cards. At this point, I'm probably not playing Burning of Xenia. So at this point, maybe I don't have to play black. Maybe I do have some strong white cards I just picked up, Balance and Fractured Identity. So with that said, we get past Mox Diamond, which taps for any color. So this is going to be a real easy pick here. We also really want Moxen in this deck. So I have these 2 creature Tinker targets, and I have Inkwell and Sphinx. I think I'll just take the Sphinx out. Inkwell is just much harder to remove. So we have an artifact theme, but I don't really think we're playing Mishra's Workshop. It's good with Mindslaver. That's about it. Stonecoil, it's good with Stonecoil Serpent too. So here's Treasure Cruise, which is that delve spell that we're looking for. Like, I have pretty good ways of filling up my graveyard. Counterspell is just a great card. I'm not sure if this is the deck for Counterspell. Fire Ice is also a really solid, versatile card. I'm going to take the Treasure Cruise. Like, it's really maximized in this deck. Wow, there's a lot of good cards here for us. Blightsteel, which is arguably better than Inkwell Leviathan. Jace Vryn's Prodigy is really good with Ancestral and Fractured Identity. Trinket Mage, we're looking to combo with like our Skull Clamp. So yeah, honestly, at this point, I'm not sure if we're playing the Sneak Attack. I feel like we kind of don't need the Sneak Attack to win. Do I want to take Jace? I kind of like Jace there. That was a tough pick. I didn't take the Blightsteel because it's like, it's not, when I take the Blightsteel, my deck is increasing by the increment of like Blightsteel minus Inkwell Leviathan, and I'm not sure that is actually that big of a number. My mana is really bad, so I need this Wandering Fumarole. So I took the Jace. Like, Jace is good with Treasure Cruise. It's good with, like, it fills up my graveyard. It can combo with Duretti to get, it can get Inkwell Leviathan into my graveyard on turn 3, like, and then I can instantly bring it out with Duretti. So, and Jace just looting in general is just good. So that's the reason I took it, all those synergies. Wow, I was not expecting to get Emrakul this draft. So I can get Emrakul into play with Sneak Attack. I think I should just take it. I can also board it in against Storm. Wow, Teferi, Wheeling, just another Planeswalker for our Planeswalker balance deck. Yeah, I don't, Baral's not great in here. So my white definitely ended up being better than my black when all said and done. Recruiter of the Guard searches for Metamorph. Cloudskate searches for almost all of my creatures, even Flametongue Kavu. I think it's just like a little too slow. I just want to make my mana as good as I can. I have plenty of playables. So here's Show and Tell, which is good with Inkwell and Emrakul. Like, I can board it in against Mono Red or against maybe, I'm not sure what other decks, maybe Mono White as well. I don't really think I can use any of the other cards. Here's another dual land. I do like Direfleet, Daredevil. I think Chandra is kind of average, but yeah, just still really needing to make my mana better, so that's really lucky. Flame Slash is decent, and we wield the Trinket Mage, which I almost took over the Jace, so I'll take that. Really interesting deck we have here. You don't draft one like this too often, at least I don't. So we definitely, Thief of Sanity is just not worth splashing. We have a lot of cards. We have a lot of ways to get card advantage in this deck. I'm not even sure if I'm going to play the Duretti. It is really good with the Skull Clamp, though. Yeah, unfortunately, I just have no black fixing whatsoever besides Mox Diamond. I can search for Mox Diamond with my Tezzeret, which is something to keep in mind. Decks like this are also, it's okay to have some useless cards in your deck because you can just discard them. I have Nahiri, Duretti, Dak Faden, Jace. So like I can just play this Duretti Ingenious Iconoclast, and if I don't draw a swamp, like whatever, I'll just discard it. So I get to take the upside, but my downside is capped. It's not super high. I do need to make some cuts here, though. Sneak Attack is just yeah, I had the option to like go down the Sneak Attack route during this draft and take the Blightsteel Colossus and I ended up getting the Emrakul. But then it's kind of like I would have this whole like artifact balance planeswalker deck that there's all these different synergies and stuff, and then it would just kind of be like, okay, there's this extra sneak attack package on the side, which it's really nice if I draw the sneak attack and the Emrakul, but when I draw them not together, then it's just card disadvantage. It's useless for me. So, but I can also say the same thing I said before for splash cards, where like if I just draw the sneak attack and can't use it, I can discard it to one of my outlets, and that's great. But I'm not sure if I want to do that still though. So I have some cards that are speculative, like Flame Slash and Dismember and Flame Tongue Kavu. These are like matchup specific cards. Also not sure if I can play the Skull Clamp. I can clamp my Trinket Mage, my Doretti tokens. I can clamp any of these creatures, Cloudscape, Metamorph. They're not necessarily going to be dying though. It is nice that the clamp is tutorable, and I can also just tinker it away. So there's a lot going on there. The Skull Clamp is going to be good against decks that attack me. Like if I can just play down some of these value creatures and then block with Skull Clamp, like it's going to be pretty hard to lose. Maybe I don't need to play Tezzeret. Right now, basically, it can untap my signets. It can search for a Metamorph, although that does cost 4, so that would just kill my Tezzeret. Yeah, Tez is honestly really not how I want to be spending 5 mana in this deck. So I'll start by cutting that. I should cut at least one of these creature interaction cards. Let's look at my curve. Do I want to play this Kavu? Maybe I'll keep the Kavu in. It makes my Skull Clamp better. And I'll cut the Flame Slash because it's sorcery speed and it costs some red mana. I'll keep the Dismember in. So I still have this Sneak Attack Emrakul combo chilling over here. I really don't need it to win. I also have Show and Tell. Like I kind of have the whole Emrakul package. Like I could just try to go full combo. Like what would that look like? That would look like taking out some of these fair cards like Dismember, maybe even Balance could come out. Like Kavu. There's probably some matchups where I'll want to do that. Show and Tell is just too bad to main deck though. As it stands right now, if I take out Sneak Attack and Emrakul, that gets me to 24 cards. And my deck is like a value Planeswalker deck with combo kills with Tinker. I do like the Emrakul Sneak Attack combo just because it's going to be real easy to find in my deck. I have lots of card draw and card filtering. I have Ancestral Recall and Treasure Cruise and Skull Clamp, and I have all those looters I mentioned before. The combo is going to be real easy to find in my deck. The problem is I only have one card that's good with Sneak Attack. I mean, I guess, like Flame Tongue is decent with Sneak Attack, but it's basically just in my deck for the Emrakul. So if I were to take cards out, maybe the Balance is not as good as it seems in this deck. Maybe if I want to run Balance, I should start taking out some creatures like Flame Tongue Kavu and so on. Let's look at how many Balance cards I have. Let's just mess this whole thing up. So that's 11 cards that interact well with Balance. Like I get them on the battlefield and Balance does not count them. Without Sneak Attack Emrakul, how am I winning? I'm mostly just winning through value and like stealing their stuff with Fractured Identity or Metamorph, or just getting a bunch of value with my planeswalkers, and then maybe winning with a large Stonecoil Serpent, which, that's not a bad strategy. Or obviously I have the Mindslaver lock with either of my Durettis. Like if I Mindslaver my opponent 3 times, I probably can't lose. It's nice to have access to a card like Balance in your deck when you have all these discard outlets. It's just a card that does a very special effect, like that can get you out of certain binds. So I think I do want to run it. If I want to play the Sneak Attack Emrakul package, what can I do? I do have a lot of card advantage. I could take out Treasure Cruise. I think that's the worst of my card draw, or maybe Skull Clamp's worse. I can just make a concession to the creature decks and take out my Dismember or my Flame Tongue Kavu and just deal with the creature decks with all my planeswalkers. Yeah, I'm just not sure how to build this deck because I've only played a deck like this maybe 1 or 2 times before. It's a pretty unique one. So it's kind of up to my play style and what do I want to do with this draft. So I'm just going to bring the cards I see as not completely necessary over to the right here. And Mana Leak can be on this side too. My deck does tap out a lot, so maybe Dismember will work better than Mana Leak in this deck. I guess Duretti Ingenious Iconoclast goes in this pile too. The card is just so powerful though. If I draw it along with my Mox Diamond, that's gonna be a really good game for me. Duretti's really good against creatures. Destroys any artifact or creature with its -1. You have to sacrifice an artifact, but it's pretty easy to do. I think the most obvious thing to do is just don't play the Emrakul combo. I feel like I don't need it to win with this deck. I feel like this deck actually has a lot of win conditions. So we'll see how that goes. I do need to cut 1 card here. I think given that I'm keeping the Balance in, I should just take out Flame Tongue Kavu. I'll leave myself access to the Dismember, which is going to be good against stuff like Splinter Twin combo and mono green because it's a 1-drop. I do want to play 17 lands because of Mox Diamond. You need to have a land in hand to discard to it. And my deck also just cannot flood because of all the looters. So this was a long process, but let's take out the Flame Tongue Kavu. Kavu is nice to have in my deck because I have Metamorph. Just lets me copy it. I also should have mentioned that Nahiri is really good with Emrakul. Man, that really makes me just want to put Emrakul back in the deck now. So I actually have 2 ways to win with Emrakul. I think that might be just too good to pass up. Let's try the streamlined all win condition, low interaction deck. I've talked myself into it. Just playing not as much creature removal. I still have some in the form of my planeswalkers. 1 more cut. I'm not sure if I'm there on Skull Clamp is the only thing. Skull Clamp's good with Sneak Attack because you have to sacrifice the creature. If I take Skull Clamp out, is my Trinket Mage still good? It gets Stonecoil Serpent and Mox Diamond. That's not bad. Yeah, I think I'd rather have the Treasure Cruise in my deck than the Skull Clamp. Skull Clamp is really only good with my Duretti Ingenious Iconoclast. Okay, this was one of the longer deck buildings I've tried. I should maybe take the black-red Duretti out of my deck now that I took out Skull Clamp. There's just so many little combos happening in this deck. It's going to make my mana better. I have 1 black source. I have Mox Diamond. I'm already playing 3 colors. I don't have something great to put in. I guess I would put in Flame Tongue Kavu. I think I just have so much power in this deck. I just don't need Duretti. I have so many good spells to use my mana on. I just don't want to put swamps in my deck. Yeah, I really wish I had picked up a little bit of fixing. So I'm going to take out Duretti. Is the Skull Clamp still good without Duretti? No, I don't think it is. So the card I should play, I guess it will just be one of the creature removal spells. I think I just like Flame Tongue the best. My mana is pretty good, actually. 7 red and 8 white sources. Does that make sense? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 white cards, and I have 5 red cards. So that does not exactly make sense. And my blue sources, I have 7 islands, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That is a lot. Yeah, that's a ton. So my mana is actually pretty good. So even putting in those swamps wouldn't even hurt me that much, but I'm not convinced that I need the little Duretti to win with this deck. So that was an insanely long deck building. Let's see how this first match goes. All right, round 1. Let's see how this deck plays out. I'm pretty interested to see, actually. This hand looks great. Okay, opponent looks to be on mono green, so my hand is not amazing against mono green. I'm going to be able to get a quick tinker for it's going to have to be Inkwell Leviathan. I think I should just start by using Ancestral on my opponent's turn. It's not exactly the sexiest play to do a quick tinker with my Mox Diamond, because then I'm going to have to discard a land. But it's also not going to be super easy to race the green deck. So if my opponent's playing blue, that's going to help me a lot. So let's see if they do get a tropical island. Okay, so I'm probably just going to be tinkering next turn, given that I draw a land, which I'm going to get to see 4 cards here, so hopefully we can make that happen. And then just hope I can attack 3 times with my Island Walking Shroud 7/11 creature. And hopefully we don't draw it also. That would be really bad. So we didn't get there on land, actually. So there's nothing to do here except play out the Azoria Signet. And do I want to discard a card? That would accelerate my Treasure Cruise. I don't have red mana, so I can hold this Mox, try to draw a land. This is kind of an interesting spot. I'm going to want to cast Flame Tongue Kavu this game, I think. And Treasure Cruise is probably going to be too slow to matter. But I'm going to want red mana. So yeah, I'm just going to discard here. I think Trinket Mage will probably be... Yeah, I just don't think I'm going to cast Treasure Cruise this game. So I'm going to give myself the option to Mox Diamond. Like next turn, I'm going to Tinker, get the Inkwell Leviathan, hopefully. And then I kind of just need to survive until I can attack 3 times. And so I'm going to want to play as much disruption as I can, and that's going to entail having red mana. So my opponent has a bunch of mana up. I think I'm pretty behind this game, just given that I'm missing 2 land drops now. My opponent has a bunch of mana. Like, just talking through the steps of, like, should I play around Mana Leak? And, like, I don't really think I should, even though it's very weird that the green player passes with 5 mana up. But they're also the type of deck that doesn't usually play counterspells. So yeah, I think I'm just going to go for it. I think that's my best. Wow, this doesn't even go into play. Oh, wow. Never read that one. I was assuming it works like Chrome Mox. Okay, well, I'm going to have to sacrifice my Azorius Signet now, but I still think that's my best way to win the game. So yeah, my hand is really bad, given my board state of having an island in plains. But I have an unblockable huge creature in play. My opponent, the only way they can hope to remove this creature is with Upheaval. So let's see if they're able to put a bunch of power in play and maybe like Craterhoof me out or something. Okay, Terastodon blowing up their lands. Yeah, that's going to race me pretty effectively. I mean, they really can't. Yeah, I'm not sure what my opponent's doing. I feel like my opponent could not have lost the game if they just gave themselves some elephants there. Like, they could have blown up their islands even, and then my Leviathan wouldn't be unblockable. So I think that, I mean, we'll see how this plays out. My opponent still has a lot of mana. It looks like they have red mana in their deck as well. I guess they're probably splashing Dragon Lord Atarka. Finale of Devastation. I have a newfound respect for this card after that last draft where I won getting Xaxes with it. So they've searched up a Whisperwood Elemental. I'm still feeling pretty good right now. I still can't do anything with the cards in my hand, so I'm just going to attack and then pray that my opponent cannot kill me on their turn. I'm at 19. I get to block their Terastodon. I think I'm good unless they can gain life. Maybe they can cast a Hydroid Krasis here, or obviously Craterhoof Behemoth is like the most likely one. So for sideboarding, I'm going to want to bring in probably all my creature removal. Flame Slash and Dismember are pretty good. This deck is going to be better at going over the top of me. Wow, am I dead to this? I probably am. 13 plus, is that exactly 19? Yikes. Well, that game went pretty poorly, but I like our chances still. My opponent playing a pretty classic green deck, it looked like. So balance is going to be good. Flame Slash, Dismember, even Lightning Strike would be good. Let's see. Do I have any cards that are not good against green? Well, my deck is looking pretty weak. My Planeswalkers are not amazing because they're a little bit slow and my opponent can get on the board so quickly and then attack them and I didn't see any artifacts for my deck to steal, but still, like, it's kind of hard to sideboard that card out. So maybe I take out Mindslaver because Inkwell Leviathan seems a bit better against my opponent because they have islands. Maybe Treasure Cruise is just a little bit slow. Maybe the Duretti Mindslaver is just a little bit like too cute and I don't need it against this deck. I can try to win with my Emrakul plan or my Inkwell Leviathan plan. Let's try it this way. I don't love Duretti just because of the fact that my Duretti is going to be getting attacked. Against a lot of other vintage cube decks, your planeswalkers can stay on the battlefield for a lot longer. And I kind of see the Mindslaver and Duretti. I see those like as a package. I don't want to just take one of them out. So this hand looks okay. Obviously, I'm probably just never going to mulligan a hand that has Ancestral Recall in it. So my opponent's getting a really fast start. Sometimes these fast bond hands don't have like the payoff at the end. So we'll see if the opponent's able to capitalize on all of this mana that they have. Not sure if that Flame Slash is going to get any better. I'll just try to disrupt them as much as I can. No artifacts to tinker, unfortunately. Flame Tongue is going to be looking pretty good if my opponent's turn 5 play is Whisperwood Elemental. So I can tinker next turn, it looks like. But this turn, pretty easy, Kavu. Next turn I can play a land that'll get me to 5 mana, then I can Trinket Mage for Mox Diamond, Tinker. Opponent does not have any islands in play. Alternatively, I can just cast Teferi, try to find my sneak attack. Let's see, opponent with 1 card left in hand. They have access to 7 mana next turn. So they could cast Terastodon. My Teferi is looking pretty good right now. Like, my opponent's not going to be able to attack it and kill it. I think I just want to go with the fair plan. So I'm just going to cast Teferi. Maybe if my opponent puts an island into play next turn, I can. So I'm definitely going to be destroying that Devoted Druid here. And now I'm feeling pretty good because my opponent just has the 2 cards and 5 mana now. And with this much mana, the best thing they can do is like cast Primeval Titan, and my hand is pretty good against that. So my best bet is probably to just run the Tinker play here. I do have to discard a land, but that seems okay. I'll just start trading off creatures. Going to be a little bit tougher for my opponent to race now because they don't have this huge mana advantage like last game. So I'm not sure if the opponent has payoff for Fast Bond in their deck. Usually Fast Bond is not great if you don't have ways to draw a bunch of cards, like specifically draw sevens are really good with it. Or like Oracle of Moldiah, Course of Crufix. It's probably safe to say they have one of those cards in their deck at least. But when you have games like this where you don't abuse the Fast Bond, it's like my opponent really didn't accelerate themselves much with it. And so now they're just a little bit light on action. Okay, they're chumping. Let's see. Should I even show them my DAC? Show them my Emrakul? Probably not. But I mean, I think I want to get Fumarole into play. I probably just should not have even played this deck. Like, I don't want to show them my Emrakul. I obviously should have kept Phyrexian Metamorph in my hand. We'll see if my opponent can punish me for it. Like, I pretty much feel like I'm just winning the game next turn or the turn after, like, no matter what my opponent ends up having. So I don't want to let my opponent know what to play around. Like, if they know I have Emrakul, it's going to make my Nahiri a lot scarier. I think the deck looks good. I was happy with the Dismember, really helped out that game, I think. Maybe they had nothing to cast anyways, but yeah, I think I like where the deck's at. Maybe I should even bring in this Lightning Strike. I could take out like Trinket Mage. Trinket Mage is not really great in this deck. It's a little bit slow, really, like. Okay, well, I'll take my third consecutive hand with Ancestral Recall. Sorry, opponent. They did beat me the first game, though, so. So I can use Dismember, or I can put down Jace. Opponent looks like they don't have a ton of ramp this game. I have a lot of removal. I have Flame Tongue, Kavu, Flame Slash, Dismember. I don't really think I'm in a rush to get my Jace on the battlefield. I'll just try to slow my opponent down. The worst card is definitely Trinket Mage. Looking to just cast Flame Slash next turn and might not even have to keep Mana Leak up. Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about keeping Mana Leak up this turn. Like, didn't really seem like my opponent can do that much with 3 mana, but let's see. They're getting into Eldrazi territory here. Oh wow. Yeah, I guess I'm not going to be able to deal with that. So I can draw Balance. Yeah, I think I'm dead. Well, good beats, opponent. All right, well, we lost that first round, but we'll keep playing, see what we can do with this deck. I didn't change the deck at all, even though I'm not sure if I should be playing this like Duretti Mind Slaver package still, but we'll give it a shot. This hand is pretty slow. I think my opponent kept their 7. I think this hand's fine though. Like, I have Emrakul, so if I draw Sneak Attack, that's good. If I don't, then I can just discard it with Duretti. Wow. So this time my opponent gets Ancestral Recall. That's not what I'm used to. That's not good. I should be mulliganing pretty aggressively, given I have Ancestral Recall in my deck. So for that reason, I could see this being a bad keep. Like, I should also be trying to find like Tinker, Mox Diamond. Those are really the best things my deck's doing. Karakas. Does Karakas work against Emrakul? Yeah, it looks like it does. So I guess the Emrakul package is going to be coming out post sideboard. Yeah, that's pretty good. Elspeth is also really good against my Duretti. I'm kind of just getting absolutely wrecked this game. And I've drawn my Inkwell Leviathan. Yeah, this game is not going well. Discard up to 2 cards. So how can I win this game? Well, I definitely want to discard Inkwell Leviathan. So I'm just basically trying to draw into Sneak Attack, and then maybe I can win with Emrakul. Like, my opponent's going to have to tap their Karakas, obviously. So really don't have a great chance of winning this game. And And now I'm going to have to wait more turns also because I've been strip mined. So assuming, yeah, Duretti goes down, I can cast Treasure Cruise. I think I can just exile everything in my graveyard. I'm not going to be reanimating anything. Okay, I guess not bad drawing balance. I can get rid of all my opponent's creatures next turn. They're still going to have an Elspeth that's at 8, and now I'm being briberied. So my opponent's going to find not really any good creatures. They're going to see my sneak attack, but so they cloud skate. So that's going to keep me off of my sneak attack plan again. I mean, I guess I'm still technically alive here. I'm definitely going to have to fire off this balance, though. So, and I'm going to keep the 9 cards in my hand, make my opponent sacrifice a land. Seems good. Yeah, I really don't have any other choice here. Just cast balance. Choose 6 cards to keep in my hand. Do I want to keep Mindslaver? Do I need more than 5 lands? I don't really think I need more than 5 lands. So Baneslayer, it's actually pretty decent. I'm kind of locked into casting Fractured Identity this turn. The thing is, I might actually want to steal the Baneslayer Angel. Elspeth Ultimate gives my opponent's things indestructible. I don't really care that much about it. I think I have to take the Baneslayer, actually. And it's going to make the Elspeth not super useful. And still just trying to draw into one of my combos here. The opponent does have access to a ton of cards. Okay. Gearhulk doesn't look great for my opponent. They have no instants in their graveyard. So I think I'll just go lands and spells here. Jace looks pretty good for the opponent. They could bounce the Baneslayer. Okay, so yeah, they had swords, so I'm at 9. And my opponent, I gave them a bunch of lands. They have 2 planes in hand. So I can play Mindslaver, pass to my opponent. They have Colonnade that does 4 damage, Soldier that does 4 damage. That'll put me at 1. Other option is to DAC. Let's see. I can also Flame Tongue, kill the Soldier. That's gonna... If I can get my opponent to the point of getting one-shotted by Emrakul, that's gonna be good, because at this stage of the game, like, even if I attack my opponent for 15 and they sack all their lands, they still might be able to just kill me with these soldiers. So if I Flame Tongue Kavu, the soldier, like, does that help me? Or is there a chance I can do something pretty good with this Mindslaver? Even though I'll go to 1 life, and then I'll get to Mindslaver my opponent. Yeah, I feel like I need to take the highest upside play and just play the Mindslaver. I'm really playing to my outs here. Like hoping that I can remove some of my opponent's permanents with the cards in their hand, and then draw into sneak attack, and then Emrakul them out. Or maybe I can like Oblivion Ring their Elspeth, something like that. I think there's too small of a chance that the Flame Tonkavu does anything. Like they have 7 cards in hand. Good chance they can just remove my Flame Tonkavu and they can attack me for 7 with Celestial Colonnade. Yeah, I mean, probably losing this game. Opponent has Bribery in their deck, so I'm obviously going to be siding out Emrakul. So I guess Wrath of God is off the table now. The opponent has ultimated the Elspeth, which I guess is a good sign for me. It slows down the clock, at least. They're playing Big Elspeth. Okay. Metamorph on Mindslaver would be cute. I mean, I'm pretty much dead. Yeah, I just have to Mindslaver. Let's see. Okay, let's see what the opponent has. They're casting Path to Exile. Okay. Wow, Terminus is pretty good here. Sun Titan is going to get back Snapcaster or Flicker Wisp or even Strip Mine. Sun Titan's a pretty good card. My opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. 9 if I play a Plains. So unfortunately I can't do anything great here. I can minus their big Elspeth and just cast Terminus. Or I can put their Sun Titan into play and maybe, yeah, I probably should have thought this through a little bit deeper. Sun Titan gets back Flicker Wisp. Yeah, I could have cast the Sun Titan, got back the Snapcaster, Path to Exile on something. Let's see, I can also, or I could have Sun Titan, get back Strip Mine, destroy Colonnade. Yeah, so I think I jumped the gun on that. I'm locked into now doing this though, I think. So I drew Mana Leak. So I can Mana Leak their Sun Titan, or I can allow Sun Titan to happen so that I can Metamorph it. No, I can't even Mana Leak. Actually, no, yeah, I can, because I'm stealing that Mox Diamond. I think my play starts with stealing the Mox Diamond, and then, yeah, just passing. Yeah, this Emrakul is looking worse and worse against my opponent's token makers, and I've lost my ability to Mindslaver lock the opponent. Okay, my opponent has opposition in their deck. It doesn't look great in their deck. I mean, I think I just have to concede to this. Yeah, I don't think I can do anything. So I drew Tinker, but I'm just dead on board. I can draw 2 cards. Yeah. So my opponent having Bribery is probably the one card I don't want to see with this deck. It makes it so having Inkwell Leviathan and Emrakul in my deck is a huge liability. And really those cards are very important to my deck winning. Like, my Tinker is not useful without the Inkwell. So how should I sideboard against a blue-white control deck? I think what I'm going to do is just take out the Emrakul, just leave in the Inkwell Leviathan. Inkwell is really good if I can get it into play. And it's possible that I can win if my opponent briberies it, whereas I can't say the same for Emrakul. So what other cards can I bring in? My opponent has some Planeswalkers, Wear and Tear. Lightning Strike is good against Jace. I'll bring that in. And then maybe Tezzeret is just a good threat, which I took out Sneak Attack, which was a threat. Or I bring in Skull Clamp. My opponent does have lots of removal that exiles and puts cards on the bottom of my library, so not exactly great for Skull Clamp. But yeah, I feel like it's the best thing I can do. Yeah, I think it's either Tezzeret or Skull Clamp, and Tez is just not great. I'll try the Skull Clamp out. I could also bring in the Black Splash. Duress would be really good. Duretti's decent. We'll try this version first, though. All right, step 1, which is draw Ancestral, is complete. Just need to draw the Tinker now. I didn't see a lot of counter spells from my opponent. Wow. We've drawn the Tinker. So I might not have seen a single counter spell. The thing is, though, if I wait, my opponent will probably tap out at some point. My opponent actually does have Terminus, which deals with my Inkwell Leviathan. So interesting spot, and I think I'm gonna just play it safe and cast Trinket Mage. I don't know if the 1 turn slower is going to matter. This also gives me the option to sacrifice the Skull Clamp. Okay. Let's see. Wow. So the balance is pretty good against my Inkwell Leviathan plan, obviously. Armageddon is not looking to be effective. So the 2 best cards are Elspeth and Balance. It makes sense to put the lands not with the Elspeth. I want my opponent to take the Elspeth, though. I don't want them to take the Balance. I also know my opponent has Snapcaster Mage in their deck, so there's really no way for me to stop them from having Balance, like, fully. This is pretty tough. So yeah, I could have, like, tried to game them into not taking the Balance, but, you know, if I do that, maybe they just have Snapcaster anyways. So I'm going to try to start playing a little bit faster. So given they bend the balance, I'm just going to go for the Tinker here. Yeah, I kind of have to. Like, my opponent could cast Bribery next turn, so it's not like I can really leave Inkwell Leviathan in my deck. I sacked the Azek Signet. I think the Skull Clamp is going to be good against the Planeswalkers my opponent plays. So, I mean, my play is obviously to keep up Mana Leak. So does Elspeth stop Inkwell Leviathan? Yeah, it does, right? Okay, I'll just Mana Leak. This should work. I don't think my opponent has Force of Will. Okay, well, that game worked out great. Just getting the early card advantage with Ancestral and then curving into a Signet being on the play. Like, our deck looked really good there. So maybe this is not all lost. Yeah, still pretty much liking what I'm doing. The Skull Clamp is a little weak. My Black Splash is still just so bad that I'm just not gonna bother with it. I think my deck's okay. Okay, we have turn 3 Tinker, which is probably good enough to, probably better than average, I would say. So Inkwell, I mean, it's pretty good. My opponent has 2 ways to remove it. They have Terminus and they have Big Elspeth. But, so I've not drawn well. But my opponent also not doing a ton right now. So let's get the Inkwell out of my deck again, and we'll pretty much just see if my opponent can remove it. These are fun games of Vintage Cube. Okay, there's a Jace, which I'll get to Lightning Strike on my turn. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. So opponent has 5 mana now. Wow, Moat. Nice. So I have some outs against that. So I can draw Nahiri, or I can bounce it. So is Opposition going to be the card that stops me this game? I'm not sure if I can afford to counterspell this. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. If my opponent can slip under the small, they're gonna keep me off white mana. Okay. Teferi's looking pretty good here. This was another out that I didn't count yet. So yeah, let's just get rid of the Moat and see if we can win this way. Yeah, Opposition doesn't work against Inkwell, so that's why I let it resolve. Okay, they have Elspeth. Yeah, I'm in pretty rough shape now. Kavu also doesn't do it. Let's see. I can eventually cast the balance, and let's see. Should I balance and then Flame Tongue? That's not going to do much. Opponent is going to draw into Moat. What am I going to use this balance for? I guess I can try to draw into Fractured Identity. So the opponent's going to get 3. Yeah, I'm just going to get locked down by this opposition pretty quickly. So putting Flame Tongue into play, yeah, it seems good. I don't think I can hold up Mana Leak. Actually, okay, yeah, I have the Teferi trigger. So I was holding this Mana Leak for Sun Titan or Elspeth, and I was going to try to leave them with the opposition on board that was not super useful because of Wall of Omens. Because they just had Wall of Omens. But the way that it played out, it's not exactly working that way. So there's Mindslaver. Let's see if I get to cast it. They have to keep one blocker back. So, okay. Yeah, it's really going to come down to if I hit a land here. I guess I just have this one draw. That's pretty good. Opponent's going to be able to kill my Teferi here. Let's see if my opponent pluses their Elspeth. Okay, they have Factor Fiction. So I guess the card they are going to want most is Gideon. Colonnade's also decent. Like, these two removal spells don't do much because I'm going to have their next turn. So what I really don't want them to do is like cast Gideon this turn. Maybe I don't need to just give them all of this gas though. What's Colonnade going to do? Am I going to be able to play that? Activate it? Let's do it like this. I think the two removal spells are the worst cards, so I'm putting them with Gideon. If they take Baneslayer and then I can just balance it away, they can have the Colonnade. Colonnade's a pretty good card in this matchup. Okay, they're using Path on me. So let's see if my opponent even pluses here. They probably shouldn't, because then I will not be able to destroy their Elspeth on the next turn. I think they have Mode in hand. I haven't been counting. Okay, they did not plus. Opponent's playing this pretty well. And this is all fine. I'm going to play my land out. It's possible that I can balance and get my opponent to discard their whole hand next turn. Okay. I think it's pretty safe to cast Mox Diamond. Let's see, Teferi. I can Teferi and tuck one of their things. Can I shuffle? They have 7 mana. Teferi, tuck the Elspeth. Let's see. Or should I just Swords to Plowshares? Let's see, I can't cast Gideon and Swords to Plowshares it. So the best thing is probably just, let's see, so I can put the Teferi down, tuck the Elspeth. They'll get the Elspeth back eventually. Let's see, I'm doing 4 to my opponent with Wandering Fumarole. They're at 5. I cannot get my opponent to take any damage. Let's see, my Lightning Strike is in my graveyard. Okay. Exile target creature. I think I just want to tie up my opponent's mana. So I guess I'll use the swords. Seems fine. I can cast Teferi and tuck itself. That seems good. Okay, I think that's all I can do. Okay, I may have made a mistake. I forgot I had this balance in my hand. Okay, there's Cloudskate. Suspend Cloudskate. Yeah, this is a little bit awkward. Bounce. Yeah. So I guess my opponent's pretty low on resources right now. Opponent's going to draw 2 random cards, then they're going to draw Teferi. They're at 7. I have a Cloudskate suspended. Fumarole. Yeah, this is awkward. This Swords to Plowshares is coming back to bite me. I should have factored that in. I forgot about the Spear of Heliod. So with my Fumarole plus my Cloudskate, I'm only going to be able to deal 6 damage to my opponent. So I'm going to have to figure out a way around that. They're tapping a white mana. They're casting Armageddon. Okay, sure. This is pretty funny. I mean, my opponent's just going to time me out. I do have the Cloudskate. They must have forgotten about the Cloudskate. Strip Mine, not doing much. Cloudskate is going to come down. I think it makes sense to bounce the opposition. Sure. Okay, feeling pretty good about this game right now. Gonna time out to my signet here. I think my opponent has Teferi in hand now and one random card. And let's see what the other one is they drew. Plains. So they have Teferi opposition in hand. And that should do it. So we got him with the old Balance Mindslaver combo. Oh, wow. Looks like my opponent has disconnected. That's pretty funny. I guess this was one of the sicker comebacks that I've had in this match. You really hate to see it. GP Jedi. He played a good match. He managed his planeswalkers well during the Mindslaver turn. He did bring this Moat in for some reason. Moat sometimes seems like a good sideboard card, but every deck just incidentally has a way to deal with it. Even when your deck has ways around it, like his deck could win with Planeswalkers, it can win with his Baneslayer Angel. Like, Moat looks good in that deck, but it's still just basically a dead card. Like, eventually I'm going to draw my Nahiri, my Fractured Identity, my Teferi, whatever. Like, yeah. Moat it's kind of cool. Like, I've used it well, like, one time, I guess. Well, I just realized that my opponent has so much time left on their clock. I thought I only had to wait for my 2 minutes. This guy's going to make me wait for probably 8 more minutes. Well, I will let you guys know what happens, and I'll, like, skip ahead through this. Okay, looks like enough time finally elapsed, and we got the win. Let's go play the next round. This hand seems okay. I can mana leak something that Flametongue Kavu cannot deal with, and hopefully that will like bridge me to the late game. I think Devoted Druid's fine. I'll try to mana leak something next turn, and then Flametongue Kavu the following turn. Hopefully opponent doesn't have too many action spells in their hand. That's fine. So going to be awkward if the opponent just passes here. I guess at that point I'll just have to keep passing as well. But it's actually not that bad because of the fact that I have Teferi. So yeah, I'll just Exit Signet and pass again with Mana Leak up. And then I can start upticking Teferi and still leaving Mana Leak up if my opponent wants to try to play that game. But I'm not going to tap out for a Flametongue Kavu and leave my opponent with 7 mana. That doesn't seem good. Okay, opponent is happy to keep passing. It looks like they have blue in their deck as well. So there's the Tinker. Yeah, I guess Tinker is just going to be a little bit better than Teferi. I can still use Teferi next turn. Especially given that my opponent put this island into play. This will make me more resilient to any planeswalkers that my opponent might be able to get underneath this mana leak. Let's see. So now opponent is on 5, 6, 7, 8. They're on 10 mana. So this turn I can Flametongue Kavu plus leave Mana Leak up. that seems better than putting Teferi into play. I don't really need card advantage or anything. I just need to survive for 2 more turns. That's it. Oracle's fine. Okay, so opponent's getting to the point where they can put Craterhoof into play, but okay. So playing the mono green matchup again. I think I'll sideboard like the first time, which was putting Flame Slash and Dismember in. And I think I took out Treasure Cruise. I should have Lightning Strike in too. It's really good. Trinket Mage was one of the cards I took out. I think I took out Duretti actually because I said that it was easily attacked and dealt with, and I think it's a bit weak also. And I'm trying to win with Inkwell rather than Mindslaver, so does that seem good? Leave in the, yeah, that seems fine. Inkwell and Emrakul should be more than enough for me to win. So I think I have to mulligan when I have Inkwell in my hand. And this hand looks very similar, but I can put Inkwell on the bottom of my library. Which is exactly where I want it to be. So I don't have a ton of interaction here, but I do have balance. So let's see if we can find the right turn to fire this balance off. So now next turn I can suspend Riftwing, which gets it, so balance cannot see it. So I can do that and play balance. So let's see if that is going to be a good play. If I want to get greedy and wait another turn, what happens? My opponent will have 5, at the very least 7 mana. But if they play a creature, there's a decent chance I can just balance it. This is pretty tough because I don't know what my opponent's top end is. I can also metamorph my Signet here. That doesn't seem very good, though. I can fire off the balance right now. I'll have to discard a card. My opponent will have to sacrifice 2 lands. I don't really mind discarding right now. Yeah, I think it just has to be too good to play balance here. So I'm not going to get greedy. And I'll discard a card so that my opponent's forced to sacrifice 1 more land. So we'll see if this is good enough. Opponent looks like they have some mana denial in their mana base. So I have a bit of a like anemic beats plan going here. Can get this 3/3 trample into play, play a Riftwing, metamorph something. I mean, it's more than my opponent is doing at the moment. I have a man land as well, although it's not really doing anything against my opponent's Rishadan port. So opponent can trade here with their factory, which I guess I'm fine with. I suppose that's a reason to have waited to get my Stone Coil out of factory range, but I'm not sure that I care so much about that. Still can't play Treasure Cruise. Still holding Metamorph. I don't need mana. I'm pretty sure my curve tops out at Teferi right now. Okay, so opponent has a bunch of mana. Let's see. Okay, that's getting tapped. There's really nothing I can do about that. I think it makes sense to bounce the Monolith here. I draw into Emrakul. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get to use this Metamorph on anything better. Yeah, I think slowing my opponent down seems pretty good right here. And then on the later turns, I can hopefully be treasure cruising. Like, this is going to stop my opponent from porting. So I think I bounce the Tomb. I think my opponent has access to all the colors they need pretty much. So I have a tiny clock going. Let's see if I can fire this Treasure Cruise off. Still really not sure what my opponent's trying to cast with their deck. Okay, so they don't seem to be afraid of losing to my Cloud Skates here. Their mana denial is working at the moment. But I'm still doing okay on board, and each turn that passes makes my opponent's Ancient Tomb worse. A lot of the green cards don't, a lot of the top end green does not interact with flyers. Tooth and Nail, this has got to be pretty good though. So something that would be good for my opponent is Terastodon to blow up my lands, or Woodfall Primus. And they did end up getting, okay, a Slime to destroy that, but now I guess we're going to get to see the power of Fractured Identity. Usually pretty hard to lose after you cast Tooth and Nail, but yeah, like I said, my flyers are pretty good. They're not interacting with them. Even if I just had a removal there for Kozilek, I still might have been able to win with this Cloudskate. Let's see what else my opponent has. They have their own Fractured Identity. Wow. Okay. We've still got a game. So the Kozilek does 12, and it has Annihilator 4. So opponent's at 6. So I don't have enough time to kill them with my Cloudskate. The Kozilek will have destroyed all my permanents at that point. Let's see. This costs 10 to cast. So, I mean, I need to cast Treasure Cruise. So the question is, what do I leave in my graveyard? I think I want to leave Phyrexian Metamorph in my graveyard, because if I can Doretti it back and then copy my Cloudskate, bounce their Kozilek, that might do something. And I'm not going to be able to do anything with the rest of my cards, because I'm not going to have enough time to use Jace of Vryn's Prodigy. I'm going to cast Treasure Cruise, and I'm going to exile everything except for Metamorph. I think Metamorph is one of my outs. Let's see. Right now I have 6 mana sources in play. Yeah, I'll be able to cast Doretti next turn if I really need to. Okay, I need to use 2 more mana. This seems good. Drawing into Mana Leak. So, pretty dead draws there. And my opponent's port is going to be pretty good. So, now I think I might have to... I'm going to sack 3 lands and my Cloudskate. Yeah, so even with the port, I'm not going to get there with... So I need to keep my Cloudskate. Yeah, I think I'm like 1 permanent short right now. I think I'm going to attack. I don't really think blocking does much for me. Wow, so my opponent is playing mono green splash Fractured Identity. I have never seen this before, but it's working. It is really working. Yeah, I'm not sure if I can win this game if my opponent keeps up the port. Like, I needed to draw another permanent to put into play or something. Sacrifice 4 permanents. Do I sacrifice the Cloudskate? Or I sacrifice a land? Either way, I'm taking myself out off of one of my outs is the problem. And I'm going to 5 here. Do I have a burn spell in my deck? I think I do. Okay, so... Yeah, I have Lightning Strike in my deck. So, yeah, I just need to draw Lightning Strike. Okay, they just want that out. Tinker for something, and then I die. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just gonna be dead. Well, Tinker for Leviathan. Opponent attacks me. I sack all my lands. Block with Cloudscape. Wow, I'm like almost there, but the opponent's at 8. That's actually sick. The Nature's Claim actually did it for them. I don't think there's anything I can do. My opponent knows I have Tinker already. Let's see. Yeah, if I had Metamorph in my deck, that would be pretty good. I could bounce the Kozilek. I don't think I have anything, though. Leviathan has only 11 toughness, not 13. Yeah, I just needed one extra permanent in play. Although, I'm not sure if that would have... No, I still have to chump block here. It's not actually mattering. Okay, we're going to get a game 3 here. So against Tooth and Nail, Mindslaver is pretty good against Tooth and Nail. Opponent has some artifact mana. I already have some incidental removal in my deck. Nahiri and Deck Faden. I think I like where my deck's at. The balance plan is really good. My Planeswalkers are all pretty good. Oh, I didn't have Duretti in my deck. I was trying to play to Duretti as an out, but I didn't even have it in my deck. So, yeah, last game it looked a little silly losing the game with Emrakul in my hand the whole time. I didn't draw any of my looters or my sneak attack to combo with it. I think I still like my deck, though, mostly just trying to win with Inkwell. I think it's okay. So this deck has interaction. This hand, I mean, but the Treasure Cruise looks really weak. And it looks really slow. The Treasure Cruise is decent with the burn spells. This is a pretty tough spot. I think I can keep. If I can draw lands into this Kavu, like this is really good disruption. My hand is a little weak against Port. I have the one red source. Tomb into Jite, okay. Wow, they have black in their deck as well? Now I'm confused. Okay, I'm happy to hit land there. So my opponent found their green mana, but I'm not being able to use my interaction like I wanted to. So we're both off to slow starts here. Sylvan Library is going to be really good this game. Although, if I'm able to get this Tinker off, then this life, the damage they're taking is going to add up. That's fine. That's also fine. Sure. Okay, Dak is looking really good on this board, but I'm gonna have to wait. Let's see. I can Dak stealing one of their artifacts and then just Tinker the next turn. Or I can just Flame Slash their only creature, hold up Mana Leak, and then do the whole Dak thing the next turn. I think that seems pretty good. My opponent does have access to a good amount of cards. I'm not exactly pressuring their life total. They found the port, which is going to be really effective this game. There's an elf. I can Mana Leak it. And in doing so, I'll take them off port. Let's see. Yeah, they've played port this turn. Actually, no. Mana Leaking it will not take them off of port. They have Ancient Tomb in play. Should I still Mana Leak? It'll make it so that they can't equip Jite. Or should I just save the Mana Leak for later in the game? I feel like I really just don't care about this Llanowar Elf. The port, if I draw any land, well, any untapped land, I can still cast Dak. Zenith for 4, so that seems worth countering. So now opponent's down to 0 cards. I could Kavu here. I mean, I can play a fair game, or I can go the Dak route. I feel like playing Flame Tongue might even be better. My opponent has 3, 4, 5, 6 mana next turn. I just feel like not in a rush to Tinker. My opponent's at 12. This Kavu is going to kill them pretty quickly too. So they can equip, and then, but now I can just steal the Jite, and then the Jite will get counters, but I'll be controlling the Jite, so this seems pretty good, and I'll attack. So my opponent, they're going to trade. Okay. Okay. And that was good enough. Nice. That was a pretty fun deck. It was doing a lot of different things. Didn't get to Mindslaver lock anyone. But we did have the sweet game where we did the Mindslaver into balance.